100 years, the population of our planet grew from 1.5 billion in 1900 to just over 6.3 at the turn of the millennium. The current day figure is 7.3. But so what? What does this rapid expansion of our race mean for its survival into the future? And what exactly are the grand challenges of a growing population?
All these new people need food, and when everyone has access to safe, sufficient, nutritious food that meets their dietary requirements, then we have food security. In the last 10 years, we reduced the amount of people living without food security by 167 million. However, there's still 875 million people living without this basic requirement.
With pressures to increase agricultural output, we turn to our rainforests for land. Every year, a rainforest area the size of Panama is cut down to make way for crops like coffee, cotton and wheat.
This increase in food production comes at a cost though. These crops can actively increase soil erosion as the land makes the transition from rainforest to agricultural land, and as a result we've lost half of the world's topsoil in the last 150 years.
Agriculture is the world's largest consumer of fresh water, and with the WWF already predicting that by 2025 2.3 billion of us will be living without adequate access, this adds further emphasis to the already very real issue of global water scarcity. And on top of this, we also have the ever-mounting issue of waste.
Each year, we produce 3% more waste than we do the year before. Although this may not sound like much, if we carry on at this rate, we will double the amount of waste we produce in 25 years.
And I was wondering what you think the biggest problem facing our population is in the next 50, 100 years.
That's the ultimate question. That's even more of an ultimate question than Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's ultimate question.
I think seriously the biggest problem facing our population is that we allow people to worry about population.
Deforestation, overfishing, poverty, inequality, that kind of stuff.
The global population is almost a curse which is visited upon us because of our own greed and selfishness.
The single biggest thing, I think, is that as a species we have completely lost connection with the natural world that looks after us.
The poverty gap in Britain is bigger today than it was 100 years ago. It is totally shameful.
So we took issues like overpopulation, deforestation and waste to the visitors of the Eden Project to see if A, they were aware of them, and B, if they thought they were a problem.
Possibly not as much as it maybe should be. Really?
Yes, heard about it.
I think you do notice it if you think about it. If you think about travelling on roads and travelling on public transport, etc., things are getting more crowded, there's more people around.
Yeah, you do all hear about it, but it's not something that affects us a lot over here, or certainly not yet anyway.
You know, part of it is we are, by nature, keeping people alive longer and longer and longer.
It is pretty awful to be cutting forests down, but as long as they're gradually building new ones, it's not quite so bad.
Like, things like recycling is the biggest.
Yeah, I think waste, because you see all the landfill sites, that's not nice.
So while the responses to the Eden Project were generally good, when we took them outside to the rest of the public, they usually either weren't aware of most of the issues, or they didn't know enough about the ones they were aware of to make any kind of real change.
I don't think it's something we think about very often.
Wouldn't know those figures.
Giving it a thought.
I ain't too sure on that sort of fact.
I wasn't, no. Very much so, yes. I'm a member of the Soil Association, so that's very dear to my heart.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Not specifically losing soil. Deforestation maybe.
I think it's probably the biggest issue that's affecting mankind at the moment. We're taking away so much natural space, land space, where it affects the sea and the air.
Sort of, yeah, I suppose so, in the long run though. What are you going to do? What's going to happen then?
Yeah.
What about all the natural foods and all that sort of stuff?
So we're here in this little fishing village, Padstow, on this miserable day, and we've come to have a look at the National Lobster Hatchery. Much like the Eden Project, it places a heavy focus on education, but it's a much smaller venue. So we're going to go in, have a look around, and see if they do anything differently to what they do at the Eden Project.
I still believe that the best sort of interpretation to have is in person, because everybody who comes in here would ask me something different, and I could answer, would be good at good shot at answering most of those questions, or direct them to something else. And a board is good, and it gives you an amount of information, but it's limited within how much it can expand.
The Eden Project, obviously, with you staying there, and a lot of it you don't get this kind of talks, and it's more you get out of it what you put in, so you have to read the boards and things like this. But obviously you're the second most visited, and the Eden is number one. But do you think you're better than the Eden Project because you would provide this kind of interactivity?
I think if you can provide it, it is better. I mean, Eden is on a different scale entirely, and they do have some of the most whiz-bang, funky interpretation I've ever seen. That room that sort of does this, I'm astounded by that. But it's a case of you get out what you put in. That's a cheeky question, it's a bit political that one. It's a different thing, but I think it is important to be able to give talks, and also, because we often do talks, but also our visitors said to staff, in the summer we normally have 2 people on in the busy time so that people can have a chat, because it does make such a difference. But I think the human side is really important.
So we went back to the Eden Project to ask them if they thought that the way the lobster hatchery was doing it was the right way to go about it.
It's not my job to teach people about sustainability. As far as I'm concerned, sustainability and social welfare should be citizenship values. They shouldn't even be educational values. They should be something you hold in your soul.
I'm not so sure we consciously try and make people aware of that problem.
It is our job to educate people to actually be proud and respectful of their own brains and to think that they're able to ask questions of equality which will actually elicit something which will make people want to change.
I think the trick that we pull is that we give people the license for 4 or 5 hours of their lives to go and enjoy that stuff again.
Do you think they could learn more or less if they had someone telling them, and on top of what you have already here?
I agree with that. I think people would learn a lot more and feel a lot more if we actually had a place where we could induct people. Induct people. Cut that.
I think, it's going to sound a bit flippant, but I think everyone's different and everyone responds to stuff in totally different ways. Some people come here and want to see theatre, some come and want to see art. Some come and want to have a one-to-one conversation.
When we're having a conversation, I can explain stuff and get you to understand, say, the attitude in a way that no sign ever could.
Some come and want to read every single board, every single word, and will probably spot the spelling and grammar mistakes as well. We all work differently. Here's eclectic enough that everyone can get something out of it.
I think we're a catalyst. I'd love people to think that there was no education whatsoever going on and then leave effortlessly just a bit cleverer than they were when they came in.
Facing such large-scale and often controversial issues surrounding our growing population, which require an attitude change on a global scale. But this is often difficult to achieve when the general public doesn't know enough about the issues to make any kind of lasting change. While places like the Eden Project and the lobster hatchery can be used as catalysts for change, it's hard to get an emotional response from facts and figures printed on message boards. Instead, it's people like Alison and Dan who are starting to see more success by engaging people on a personal level in order to inspire long-term change. However, as far as reaching everyone in the population is concerned, we do still have a long way to go.
I'm the man for the job, that's sure. I'm the man to be asking about that, but I'm sure someone knows. Shoot the buggers who's cutting the forest down.